get this thing going. All right. Hello, everyone. Just wanted to welcome you to this video. And this morning, I'm going to interview my good friend Janina. We're going to be discussing some loan closings and, some of the hair and the issues that cropped up and how we solved it or worked around it, and some of the things that happen during a loan processing when we're processing and underwriting. As you most experienced investors, you guys will know that there's a whole bunch of moving parts to this, and things can go sideways, backwards, fall apart, blow up very, very quickly. And it's just simple, little stupid things, when you really think about it. Um, and that's not necessarily, we're not trying to put blame on anybody. It's not the investor's fault. It's not the processor or underwriter's fault. It's just that sometimes, a lot of people just kind of forget about things. And so this morning, I kind of want to just spend some time walking through some loan processes um, and just kind of discuss what went wrong and how we solved it, or what could have been done to rectify the situation. And so, what we're going to do on this recording for this video this morning is we're going to basically start with a deal that Janina and I were working on earlier this year. Just a very quick, brief overview. We found an investor who had approached me to refinance a single family investment property that he had. And so Janina and I and the underwriter were working with him pretty, we worked hard on this loan. Um, anyway, I don't want to give out the whole story now. I'm just supposed to be doing the 10,000-foot view here. So anyway, the loan, this loan did not fund. We did not fund it. We could have, but I'm going to save all the details here, or we'll explain everything here over the next few minutes. But okay, so that being said, I'm going to ask Janina after we get done talking about this particular deal. I'm going to ask Janina about a few questions. We're going to discuss maybe one or two loans that did close that were successful. But we want to include the hair component, all the problems and issues, because we just want to let all our borrowers and clients know that you're not the only one that struggles. A lot of people have issues with, silly things, even like credit reports and, whatever, the documents. A lot of this stuff is, it's a headache for a lot of people, and we understand that. So hopefully we can help you so that when you do apply for your next loan, that you will not have so many issues and problems. Okay. So that being said, let's go ahead and just dive in. So circling back to the client that we had. So I believe it was around December last year that this gentleman had approached me. I had known him for several years. He is a hotel developer, and he just so happened he and his brothers and his family had a single family home that was inside an LLC, and it was an investment property. So Janina and I, our company, we deal with, we can't do owner occupied residential, or at least I can't anyway. So um, this was an investment property. So first of all, we had to make sure that we weren't doing residential loans because I'm not licensed in Washington State. I know, Janina, that's a good, I never thought to ask you this, but do you have a Texas license?
No,
No,
for
okay.
properties,
Okay,
no, it's not required.
right. Okay, so once again, listeners, we're talking commercial and investment financing is a lot different from owner occupied residential. We don't deal with RESPA and TILA and closing and, some of the stuff that all the red tape that, that an owner occupied property has. But anyway, so you guys get all that. So I'll move on. So, so we got the application. this guy, he's wasn't definitely his first rodeo. So we got all his documents in one huge package. We had to go to Dropbox to get everything to fit, right? Because it's huge, but he had all his LLC documents, his entity documents. He had property information. He had his personal financial statements. He had his credit reports. Everything was all in there. Everything we basically needed was there. Okay. So Janina and I, and the underwriter, we started, processing everything and going through everything. And we noticed that, well, one thing on his operating agreement for his LLC, his entity, it started off that he and his wife were 50-50 partners. But then this was several years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, but then I think a year or two ago, he had transferred his wife's ownership to his son, and his son and him became partners. But the operating agreement showed something like I don't know, some funky number. I think it was like 79% to 21% or something really weird and odd like that. And the thing is, it didn't, we didn't have any proof, we didn't have any documentation showing the transfer of ownership from his wife to the son. And so we called him out on that, and we said, well, hey, can you get this straightened out for us? And he kind of hemmed and hawed and kind of put up a little bit of a fuss. And he was using his status as a experienced investor to kind of make us look bad and look kind of stupid and incompetent. But we told him, we said, well, it's this, you can go to any lender and that's what they're going to do. So I think our underwriter, I'm drawing a blank on her name, Janina.
Rochelle. Yeah. Rochelle.
Rochelle, that's right. Yes, Rochelle. Sorry. Yeah, so Rochelle, I think, bailed us, bailed us out on that, and she was able to fix that problem. So that was something that he could have gone to his attorneys and just say, hey, look, I just need this document to reflect, the changes in ownership. And that probably would have taken, one day. The attorneys could have just ripped something out in a few minutes just showing it. But I don't know, for some odd reason, that was such a huge problem and issue for him. And so, I'm kind of scratching my head thinking, well, what's with that? It's not rocket science. All he had to do is just ask his attorney to make the change. But eventually we got that resolved. And then as we got to closing, um, he, oh yeah, was it about the insurance? I think it was property insurance, right, Janina? And yeah, the quote. So I don't quite remember what the issue was with that. Did he not have enough coverage?
We just needed a quote on that one.
Oh, okay.
We could
Okay.
have provided him, and he
Mm-hmm.
stated, that his insurance company, that they weren't able to get it without, I guess, adding it to his current policy, or something along those lines, which usually is never the case. Usually, like, again, it was just a quote that we needed, but he didn't communicate that to us.
Mm-hmm.
And like our underwriting processing team, they're able to get quotes as well from someone that we normally use, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't communicate that until I think it was like the day before closing was set, and we were trying to get everything buckled down.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
So he just, all you needed was a quote, but he said that his insurance company wouldn't, or
yeah,
I'm
because he
sorry.
had other properties, I guess, with them as
Mhm.
well. So he
Right.
stated, that they wouldn't just be able to quote that one property by itself, and again,
Oh, I see.
so, and that's usually not the case. Usually they're able, to provide that. So I'm not sure if that was accurate or just something he was,
Yeah.
honest with.
Okay.
So
So there you go, right, listeners? Once again, I don't know what to say on that. A lot of these things are pretty easy. They're very simple, and it just takes a quick phone call. This could have been done within minutes too.
Yeah.
So here we have a borrower who, basically, he's a very intelligent person. He's very experienced. So, um, he can't really cry and whine about this because he knows. And I know he has a couple of receptionists. I mean, he's got employees that he hires to manage his business, and somebody in his office could have picked up the phone and taken care of this within minutes. But for some odd reason, this dragged on. And then, of course, he decided to take a month or I don't know how he was gone for something like 6 weeks out of country to visit family. And when he came back, we kind of picked things up and we waited for him. And then another thing that he did, which, still, this is something that's kind of, you know, uh, an issue with me personally. I know it sounds bad, but what he was doing is he was secretly shopping us with another lender. And so on the day that we were supposed to close, it was Friday. It was on sometime in February, late February. Um, let's see here if I can get a date. I think our closing date was February 17th,
Yeah.
and it was on a Friday. And all day Friday, Thursday, I know Rochelle had been sending him emails and calls like, "Hey, we just need this quote and we can get you closed. We're ready to go." And he contacts me and he says, "I'm not sure you guys are capable of closing." And I'm like, "What?" I said, "Come on." I said, "I told you when we first started the process that I had met Janina and her company, Global Integrity Finance, at a American Association of Private Lenders meeting in Las Vegas. I met the crew. Everybody that attends there is legitimate. I mean, everybody, even the small little. I met an investor in oh, where was he? North Carolina, that just does North Carolina properties. He's just a single individual and he's just got a boatload of money that he lends out to other investors doing fix and flip and wholesaling. And all these people, the American Association of Private Lenders, they hold all their members to a very high standard. There's no scamming, there's no, upfront fees and all this other kind of garbage. If you want to be a member, and if they catch you, they'll bring the law down on us. If we decide to do something funky and stupid with this, right? So it's not like, I don't know where he got off that idea that we couldn't close, because basically it was a slap in my face, like, "Oh, I don't trust you. It doesn't look like your sources are capable." And I'm like, "No," I said, "No, buddy." I said, you, "You're totally wrong.
I think
we are not."
there's okay.
So anyway, yeah, long story short, the deal fell apart. He ended up going with another lender, and he was, I didn't realize that he was playing us with somebody else. Um, but as a borrower, that's your prerogative. I mean, if you want to shop around and do all that kind of stuff, I mean, that's just remember that I totally believe in karma. I believe what goes around comes around. And to put people to work and bust their tails to get you a loan and then dump them for somebody else, that's what I call, in my own language, that's called financial adultery. And you sleep with the other lenders and stuff and go hobnob with them, you're done. As far as I'm concerned, I never want to work with you again. There's just no point. I mean, like Janina and myself and a lot of other investors, we all talk about building lifelong relationships, and that's the fastest way to destroy that. Of course, this particular client, he didn't talk about that. He didn't want lifetime relationships, and I don't think he was too concerned about that. Which, all right, that's his choice. But when I'm about ready to start doing some good business here. And if he contacts me again, I'm gonna have him pay a fee or something. I'm gonna charge him. But anyway, that's not to take it out on you guys, but I trust all of you listening to this are better people than that. But the thing is, just don't do that, because I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't if the shoe was reversed, or if the situation was reversed, I wouldn't certainly wouldn't do that. Uh, if you have issues or questions, you can contact us on that too, and we can work something out. But anyway, okay, so enough of that. On that situation. So we'll move on. That's just, water gone under the bridge now. So it's over and done with. So let's move on to something better. So I'm going to turn this over to Janina now and let her kind of take over. But I've asked her to share um, with us maybe one or two situations or loans that she's recently closed, and we decided to choose a couple samples that had some issues with it and how it was resolved and what she did to get it to closing. So Janina, I'm going to let you take it away. Let's start with one. Can you tell us about one of your recent closings that you had some issues with, and tell us what the issues were and how you closed it? How did you work through all that?
Yeah, so one that I had was a bridge loan. It was in Ohio, and basically from the start, the client had an expectation of what they were going to pay, how much the purchase price was going to be, what they would put into it.
Okay.
And from the beginning, there were just a lot of hurdles. So for one thing, there was like liens on the property. So the purchase price, had to be increased. There ended up being a lot more work needed within the property, but she was
Okay, are
still,
you talking about, like rehab or
yeah.
okay.
Supposedly,
And then
yeah.
what kind of liens were on the property? Were they mechanical liens or government liens, IRS liens?
I think these were IRS liens.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
from the current owner. So, it raised the purchase price to by about $20,000. So from
Hmm.
the jump, it was just more than she expected to pay. But I was able to basically lower her rehab budget so that we could
Hmm.
still provide the same percentage of the purchase price. So that helped
Oh,
her. Yeah. So that helped her with
okay.
that. But then because of that, again, there were more issues in the property than she expected.
Hmm.
So from the gate, she already knew that she had to come to the table with some of those funds to kind of make up that difference for what we
Hmm.
couldn't cover.
Okay.
So we were able to close it, but there was just a lot of hurdles and unexpected expenses. And I think,
Okay, so
mhm,
yes, excuse me for interrupting there. Let me kind of get this clear. So there was about $20,000 worth of IRS liens on this property.
mhm.
So they had to increase the sales price by that much. Okay, so why didn't they just reduce it from the sales price and include that as
the,
part of the,
the current owner was not able to cover. They had an existing mortgage, and she really wanted that property due to the
okay,
location, but the current
okay.
owner, they weren't able to afford, or there was no wiggle room basically.
Oh, okay. So she had no equity in the seller had no equity in the property because of
Right.
the mortgage. I see. So then they had this IRS lien on top of that. So that's what jacked the price up. Okay. So now the buyer obviously was really wanted the property. Okay. So that was kind of her to
Yeah.
help the seller out, bail that. So when you got this to when you rework the numbers and everything, so my understanding is that she didn't get that money that was supposed to be used for the rehab work was basically went to pay off the lien. And
In a
so
way.
she had
Yeah.
okay, so but she didn't get any, so then she didn't get much or any money for the rehab stuff, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
We were still able, I think for this one, it was about 35,000. We were able
Mhm.
to provide for the rehab still. But
Oh,
again,
really?
it was
Okay.
probably, a little over 50,000 that was needed of
Hmm.
work.
Oh,
And
really? Okay.
mhm. So what she was aware of, from the gate. But
Hmm.
then when it came to like the scope of work and how detailed everything has to be listed, that was
Hmm.
something that we had to line by line go through and
Hmm.
just make sure that she was aware that, for like our draw process, that everything matches exactly. And
Okay.
so she was an experienced investor. but that was still something new, just as she never had that exact situation.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah,
that
that's another thing, right? Every single deal is different.
is,
Every single last one of them. No deal will ever be the same.
yeah,
I'm sure that, you ask investors that have done 10, 20, 30, 100 deals, and they'll tell you the same thing. There's always something that comes up. So that's why Janina and I try to create these videos to try to give you some ideas of, what could happen and how you can work around it. The main thing is just to keep your head cool and just continue working, because there's usually a resolution, solution to all these problems,
yeah.
all problems. So, okay. All
And
right.
another issue too with the property was originally she had a realtor go out and do like a video walkthrough, and
Mm-hmm.
she was using that to create her scope of work. But when she actually went
Oh.
to visit herself,
Mm-hmm.
that's when there was a lot more damage than she expected.
Oh, I see. Wow.
So even,
Wow.
with
That's
someone she
great.
trusted, and yeah,
Yeah.
the video did not show it.
Wow. Yes, that's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. See, so I hope everybody, you listeners got this here, right? So, just even something like that, like a realtor or somebody doing a walkthrough, a video walkthrough. See, they can't, it just doesn't take the place of an inspector or an appraisal. One of those two professionals would have caught that, but realtor is, they're not. I don't know. I can't say this for all realtors, but I'm sure that many realtors are just, they're just trying to do their job. Obviously, they want to sell properties, so they're going to try to take good videos of all the nice things, and try to not look at the paint that's not, that's chipping off the wall, and the holes and cracks in the doors and whatnot. So yeah, that's another thing, just something that comes up that everybody can be aware of. So yeah, a lot of things can happen. A lot of things can happen.
Yeah.
So wow, thanks for
It
sharing
shows
that with
too.
us.
No, you're welcome. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say too, it just shows like the importance of walking through it yourself, or having
right.
some boots on the ground, as they say, just to make
Hmm.
sure that you are aware of everything, and it's not cross country and you're not able to see all the details. Because like you said, if it's a realtor, and it might not even be intentional, but if they're not looking for certain things, you don't want any surprises after
Hmm.
the loan closes, and that kind of screws up the whole deal. So
Right, right. Okay, okay. Well, I think we have time for just one more. Um, let's move on to another one. Can you talk us through another deal that you recently closed?
yeah, trying to think what other ones I had, that trying to think of some hiccups, because I've had a lot, they kind of went really
Right.
smooth. Um,
Well, I mean, yeah, just pick one at random, and, hopefully with a different type of hiccup or,
yeah.
issue on it, and kind of talk us through that one.
So one would be credit score.
Okay.
So I've had a couple clients where their score wasn't necessarily bad, but the leverage wasn't as high. If they had, say, over a 700 credit score, but they were
Mm-hmm.
able to bring someone else from their LLC
Mm-hmm.
into it as like the main guarantor. And
Mm-hmm.
then we lowered their percentage ownership, in their LLC just for this closing. And then
Mm-hmm.
we were able to get them that max leverage using the, other partner. So there are
Okay.
ways, yeah, to get creative and, make things work the best way that we can.
Okay. Okay. Cool. That's a good thing. I mean, that's kind of cool that you were able to do that. So I'm kind of wondering,
Mhm.
like, yeah, I have some questions regarding credit and how you guys work and how other lenders how they might approach this. So I know you know, I'll let's kind of put this in perspective. I'm thinking about, what if a client has, let's say they have like a 730 FICO score. I know one, actually I do know a client that has 730 FICO, but she has something like, um I think her credit, what do they call it? The credit usage, or the credit,
Yeah,
um
maybe.
her usage is something like 80%. I mean, she's got a high usage and leverage of those credit cards, but you know, she still has a 730 FICO score. So how does that affect you guys, and how do you look at somebody like that? Her other partner had 750 FICO,
Mhm.
but she also had something like 50%. What do you, I trying to
So
recall the terminology. I think it's like debt usage or credit
yeah,
usage or whatever.
DTI, yeah,
DTI, yeah, debt. Well, that's debt to income. This is
income,
not
yeah,
really income. This is kind of like
I see what you're
the
saying.
ratio on the credit card. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've heard another term used for that. It's not really income because we're just talking about credit right here.
yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Um, just the usage of the credit card.
Yeah,
So, you know, they had 10,000, say they had $10,000 limits, and yet they're, they've got $8,000 on their credit cards. So I know that that all drags the score down quite a bit, the more you load those cards up. So they were able to get a loan, a private money loan. It cost them a little bit more, but they were able to get it. Both these ladies are partners. They have this rental property up in Alaska, up in Anchorage, and neither both of them are basically self-employed. And because they're fairly new at this, they don't really have a lot of income either.
yeah.
So I'm just kind of wondering, how does that affect, how do you work with investors that really don't have much income? Um,
So
but they have decent credit, over 700, but they're utilizing their current credit cards and trying to leverage that for their deals and stuff.
so for
How does that all play in this scenario with how you guys process and underwrite loans and close them?
Yeah, so for us, the good thing is we don't look at credit usage or DTI, as long as
Hmm.
there's nothing negative or like credit cards behind, missed payments,
Hmm.
judgments, liens, stuff like that. We
Okay.
don't worry about that at all. We actually pull three scores and we go with the middle score.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
and usually, like you said, if it's a really high, percent of that the credit limit that's used, that usually will drag the score down. So eventually they will see an impact where,
Hmm.
sometimes we'll have to get another borrower or, give them time to bring that score back up. But
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
whenever we work up deals, we do not look at that. So that's
Hmm.
why we're more, asset based as they state. Because we
Right.
do
Good.
like, we do consider credit, of course. You can't have
Hmm.
a 500
Sure.
credit score, but we
Right.
don't get all the little details. Just because we have a
Hmm.
lot of clients that utilize the credit cards sometimes for their projects, or there's different reasons for why they're maxed out or close to the max. And
Hmm.
once that scores up there and everything's in good standing, then we're
Hmm.
fine.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really good. I know credit is such a big thing, and people, when it comes to, residential financing, when you're doing owner occupied, I know they look at credit, everything's really tight on that. But as Janina had just mentioned here a minute ago, um, most private lenders and commercial real estate lenders, they're not going to really look too much at, you know, once again, your credit scores are important, but as Janina had just said, mentioned, they just want to make sure that there's no liens or any derogatory credit. That would be about the only red flag for them. So that's kind of good to know. I was also going to say, if you are having problems or issues with credit, I work with a really awesome credit repair specialist, and um, her name is Ivory Becker, and I will post a link here underneath this video here but please contact her. She is phenomenal. She's been doing this for about 13, 14 years, and she's already cleaned up like 12,000 credit issues for her clients. And they're always raising scores. Almost every month they have 10 or 12 clients that they're doing, raising scores on and getting people back into, um, you know, the position where they can obtain financing, whether it's residential or for commercial real estate or investment properties. So please, 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 if you have any credit issues or struggling with that, please contact me. I would be happy to put you through with her and set you guys up together. Just a little bit of a heads up. She is not cheap. I think she charges 120 a month or something like that, as opposed to other credit repair specialists that are in the 50 to $80 range. But I can guarantee you, I absolutely, I'll even pay for it if she doesn't clean it up. That's how much I believe in her. She's just phenomenal. And so go to her first, get it cleaned up. And if she can't do it within a reasonable time frame, then I don't know. But it's definitely worth it. But aside from that, also remember that it's most of these investment property lenders, like Janina and her company, are asset based. So if you have a good property, like they say, if you find the right property, the money will follow, right? It will follow it. So that being said, you can also get somebody to finance it. So, or maybe help you out. Somebody will definitely finance it. And if you need a credit partner or transactional funding, I might be able to help you with that. You'll just have to call me. I have a couple sources that might be able to help you out. And I might even be able to help you out. So Janina and I are kind of partnering up on some off-market, wholesale and investment properties there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where she's at. So we are getting ready to pull the trigger on a couple deals and try to make this happen. So if you're listening to this and if you're interested, please contact us. Let's see how we can work together. I can't guarantee you anything. I don't promise anything, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So, if you just give us a call, we might be able to work together. I don't know, it's always worth a shot. But that being said, I think I've been yapping long enough, chewing on everybody's ears. So I just want to thank you so much, everybody, for your time and for watching this. And again, just feel free to contact me. I'll leave my contact information below. And you can just, contact me whenever the spirit moves you. All right. And I just want to say thank you to Janina as well. Thank you for your time and for the information and giving us some examples. And I guess we'll go ahead and end the thing now here. And let's see here. I'll go ahead and